cross applesauce in my chair. You guys can't see it though. I'm like crossing my legs like I'm in grade school or something. All right. I don't think I'll stay like that, but
I'm always jealous of people who sit that way because I have always been so inflexible that I really can't sit that way. My knees like die.
yeah, they start to get like sore. Yeah.
Yeah. Like immediately. Even when I was a kid, like I was like, man, what the heck? What's wrong with me? A lot of things, it turns out, but
Well, I know what's not wrong with you, the IndieQuest podcast. Welcome to IndieQuest, the celebration of the indie and obscure. I am one of your hosts today, Josh, and I'm joined by my awesome co-host, Steve. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. We are, for reasons that will become very clear very soon, recording much earlier than we normally do, bringing the rare morning energy to IndieQuest for most of us. And it means that I have my coffee next to me, which usually I've consumed fully like 8 hours ago. So I'm pumped. I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to talk some good games.
Awesome. We're also joined by the captain himself, Captain Drachma. How are you doing, Seth?
doing good. It's I kind of we've discussed this in the past, but I like getting a good morning recording going for us sometimes, or earlier in the day, because then it's like you got the rest of your day. Actually, sometimes, Josh, I'm jealous of you that we typically record it for Josh. It's like 5 p.m. And then when I'm done recording, I like go to bed. Whereas Josh has got his night ahead of him, which makes me jealous. But
get some more gaming in or something.
That's right. That's right.
Oh yeah, it's morning for me. It's 8 a.m. I got my rock star energy because pinnacle of health over here. But what's special and why we're recording at a different time? We have a special guest today, John from the Gaming in the Wild podcast. How's it going, John?
Hello, sorry to get you all out of bed. I'm like firmly a B-type person, so I'm normally recording at midnight, as I'm always saying to people on the podcast. It's midnight in Reykjavik, but we can still see the sun. But today it's 3 p.m., so sorry, guys, for getting you all out of bed, and thanks for having me.
No, you're good. No, I was telling Steve when we were kind of like alone on the recording a few minutes ago, I'm like, I get up at like 6, 7 anyway, and he's like, on the weekend, he kind of raised his eyebrow. I'm like, maybe not, but I made an exception today for you, so I'm excited that you're here. So, John, why don't you tell people a little bit about your show at the top here and what you do on the internet?
Yeah, sure. I've had a podcast for like 5 years called Gaming in the Wild, covering indie games mostly, but a bit of everything. Steve has been on it several times for the Games of the Year episode. So Blink is like a somewhat regular goatee panelist these days.
I love it.
Yeah, I really love the Games of the Year season, actually. Like, it's always like December. It's usually just me talking to Mike about games that I like and what I'm playing. But when it comes to December, there's always like a month of guest episodes. People hop on, talk about their Games of the Year and stuff. Also a YouTube channel. And it's, I don't know, I would say it's mild. But as I was told just before we started recording, it's not always mild. I think mild in the gamosphere spectrum, it's on the mild side. But if you're going to walk on the mild side, Blink is always the outside edge there of mildness. So you can't compete with that.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'll tell everybody this: if you like IndieQuest, you will definitely like John. John and all of us have very similar tastes. A lot of like the exciting games that come around end up getting covered on both shows. The difference, though, is that whereas here in like the 20 minutes of chit chat before we start an episode, we'll like accidentally talk about Elden Ring Night Rain for 5 minutes and be like, we got to stop this. This is wrong podcast. Let's talk about our indies. John just occasionally does an episode about Star Wars Outlaws or about, whatever massive AAA game just came out and then whatever catches him. So it's fun. You get like a little twist every now and again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a one-man podcast, right? So, like, and I'm not a big forward-planning guy. Like, I get asked to be on podcasts in November, and I'm like, I don't know if I'll be alive in November, man. I'm like, my podcast is like, whatever I played in the last week is what's on the podcast. That's just how it is. So it has a little bit of a diary feel to it. Sometimes it's nice and neat and tidy. Like, I'm really looking forward to the Wheel World episode at the end of this month because that's going to be a neat, tidy, crisp Gaming in the Wild. But at the minute, it's like I'm playing Death Stranding 2. I'm still in the Balatro hole. And so it's just a bit of a mixed bag what's on Gaming in the Wild at the moment. You get these like mixed up jumbled episodes, but it's okay. It works out.
Every time I see on Steam that it pops up and says you're playing Balatro, I do a little silent yes.
It was actually your fault
like
a little bit. I was free of the grip of Balatro until you posted in the Discord that you'd gotten the gold on all of the stakes. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that as an option. And now I'm going for it and somewhat regretting it.
Yeah. It's a great time. And then you get to go for gold on all the jokers. Balatro never ends.
Truly.
So what we like to do when we have new guests on the show is like to ask the big question, which is, what's your favorite indie game of all time?
Ouch.
Yeah, it's the hardest question ever. It's to put you on the spot.
That's a big
to
question.
break the ice a little bit,
It's a big question. I mean, if people are listening to Gaming in the Wild, they can probably guess what I'm going to say. When we had the 5th birthday of the podcast this year, we did a 5-episode series on the first ever game that the podcast covered, episode 0. It was like a 10-minute experiment to try out podcasting, and it was about Kentucky Route Zero. And when the 5th anniversary came around, that's a game in 5 acts that were produced over 10 years, obviously. And I was like, you know what? I talk about it so much on the podcast. That's probably what we should do for the anniversary, is go back to it, talk about each act by act, and ask the community that's grown up around the podcast to get involved and play along as well. So that game is central to Gaming in the Wild. It's one of the games that, I don't know, after some time away from gaming, brought me back and made me realize the games can be something more than I thought they could be. It's like a form of culture that's I'm an art student and a journalist and stuff like that. And so I'm interested in all the forms of culture. And it was really nice as a lifelong video game fan to feel like games can now, someone has made a game that can stand neck and neck with the quality and depth of the best of any medium. And it made me think wow, games can really stand up that way. As much as I love Pac-Man, games can stand up that way too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yes. I think that's a key game for me. And it's one that I keep going back to. And it spawned a whole interest. I'm reading all of these authors from Kentucky who are living there out in the countryside, and compilations of Appalachian modern fiction, and listening to all this music I'd never heard of before. And the game is riddled with references to books I'd never read, so I'm actually reading them. And that game just was a door into another world, and I'm still exploring it. So I guess that's the choice.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a great pick. Fantastic.
It's also known as a wordy, boring game, which is also kind of true. So I get the reputation.
The trick with a wordy, boring game is that it's wordy and boring right up until it's one of your favorite games of all time. At least that's the case for me. I'm either maybe I'm already giving away some of my discussion about the game I'm going to talk about today, but I'm either please talk less, game a little bit more, or I'm oh, these are the good words. Keep talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. Well, we do a thing here on IndieQuest as we bring games to our ever-growing list, our curated list of indie games called the Quest Log. There's 2 sections to the Quest Log. The main quest, a game that's an easy recommendation, an incredible experience, a certified banger, or, it's just a game that's, it kind of rises above. It's the cream of the crop. It's the cream on top of your really delicious coffee. And then side quest is still a recommendation. There's a caveat or two. It might be a little bit niche, but it's still a great game that you should play. So, who wants to go first? I think we'll save John for maybe second or third here. But who's itching to talk about their game today?
Josh, I'm a little nervous that you and I brought the same. Well, not nervous. I'm curious if you and I brought the same game, because you talked about the game that I brought. So, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I can go first. That's fine if you want. Yeah, I don't think you brought the same game as me. Maybe you did. If you said your game's wordy, and my game is not wordy, so maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. I brought a game today. It's a 2025 game. It came out on April Fool's Day this year. It is Haste, Broken Worlds.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So it's not the game you brought, I'm assuming, Steve.
It is not. No.
So this game is developed by Landfall Games. It is a runner game, which kind of gives a Race the Sun vibes, which I know Steve's a big fan of that one. So you this one's kind of a weird one to talk about because it's kind of a hybrid of a bunch of stuff. It's kind of a roguelike, it's kind of a runner, it's kind of a platformer, and it's a really cool game. So the main concept of the game is you are a delivery courier and named what's her name? I'm bad with names, even characters in games. But anyway, I'll figure it out. She's running away from basically the idea. She's trying to get to the end of these shards and defeat these bosses to like destroy these shards. And the way that each shard works, so there are 10 shards in this world, and you have to run to the end of the shard by doing a roguelike path. So it's kind of like if you played like Slay the Spire or something like that. There are multiple stages that you can go branching paths, and each of the little areas are like basically mini running challenges or other challenges that we'll get into. I'll talk a little bit about the art style. It's very cute, very colorful, very vibrant. It kind of pops off the screen when you see a trailer. You feel like you're watching like an anime or like a Saturday morning cartoon. I feel like the way I describe like the story even in this game is like Kids Fox. Like it's like right there, you're going to sit down with your popcorn, your cereal in the morning, and you're going to have a good anime session, watch like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or something like that. It really gives that energy the entire game. Seth, it looks like you want to say something.
It gives me a touch point that listeners might remember, and maybe I'm the only one that thinks this, but it gives me a little bit of like Dungeons of Hinterberg vibes too.
It does.
I mean, the gameplay as well. I mean, this game went really viral before it came out, right? Because it looks so good in a video capture. It looks like the Sonic game of your dreams. You're like running into the screen at high speed. I remember seeing a lot of Instagram clips of it before it landed.
Yeah, it's I will say like if this had if the main character was Sonic and you were talking to like all the characters like from Sonic lore, like you go and talk to Big the Cat or something, I would be like, yeah, this is a great Sonic game. Like if you just change like the characters, you know, it really does have that energy. What I will say is it's kind of like Steve and Seth will know this one. It's like kind of like Crumble when it's good.
I know. I was thinking that exact thing. I just didn't want to shit on Crumble again so soon. But
another like game that is maybe more obscure than this one, so it makes for a terrible touch point, is the flowy momentum, the way that you're kind of like coming out of hills and like trying to land back into the dip to gain momentum reminds me of XO1.
Yeah, and tiny it's not Tiny Birds, is it? That game where you're like doing that side on, like you have to catch the dips and keep your momentum going.
Yeah. Yep. Or even like the Alto games on mobile.
Yeah, it's all about momentum. So basically as you're going, and of course it's roguelike territory too. You get items that increase your boost speed and things like that. But as you're going, you'll see hills, and the left trigger is your item, which we'll talk about the items in a minute. The right trigger is basically like a dive, like a diving straight down as you're going forward. You're just always constantly running. That's why it's a runner. So basically the idea, you're trying to get perfect landings on all these hills, and the more perfect landings you get, the more obstacles you avoid, the faster you go. So your momentum will go so fast, like there's a little like miles per hour in the top left. So like I would say on average you're going like 80 miles per hour, but if you get some speed, you can get up to like 200 plus, you know, if you're really going. And so like if you land on the hills, you get like a perfect, you can get good, bad, okay. And if you get bad, your run for that like section or that land will be just dead. And there is a health system there too. So if you hit an obstacle, there is a health bar that will tick down, and you have 3 hearts at least to start. And obviously there's some meta progression where you can get another heart. But if you lose a heart, basically you'll have to restart that run, and if you lose all 3, you restart that level, and if you lose all your hearts, you restart that run. So there are 10 runs that you got to do, very Hades coded, 10 shards to kind of like basically get to the end of, and then there's a boss fight at the end and the boss fights are really creative and really well done. Basically you're in this arena with this giant boss that you got to basically run around. So my favorite of the game is the snake. So imagine this giant, like, flat snake kind of pathing around with lasers shooting everywhere that you got to keep dodging and avoiding. And then, you know, you have to, like, land on the snake and get perfects to get up to the head, and then, like, hit the head 4 or 5 times and destroy the snake. Super fun boss fights in this game.
You know, the thing with like XO1 and stuff like that, right? Momentum-based games is like, how does it feel when you hit a wall and stop? Like, because you have to get your speed up again, you have to keep running again, you have to get back to that flow state. So how is it in terms of that stuff?
So you kind of don't want to do that. It does feel pretty bad. So you can usually kind of recover if you hit a couple things. Like, so if you're hitting like just a random obstacle, let's say like a spike that's sticking up, you're going to slow down just a little bit. But if there are certain items or like obstacles in the world that you'll start to figure out will just completely halt your progress. So you kind of just want to avoid those completely. And once you play a little bit, you'll start to realize, okay, if I hit that barricade, I'm going to be screwed. So I got to avoid that barricade completely. But if you happen to get a little bit of health ticked off, it's not going to really damage the run too much. But it does feel a little bad. And what feels even worse is since the whole thing is the shards are kind of corrupting and you're basically running from this corruption. So if kind of like Fortnite or something, right? Like the wall is going to come in and get you. So you'll see this corruption just chasing after you, and you can kind of see the ground turning like purpley blue below you with a bunch of cracks, and you're like, oh no, I need to get some speed, and you're trying to get your speed up. So that's where the items come in. They really do help out quite a bit. They have the one you start off with is kind of like a surfboard or skate, like surfboard on the hills and stuff, and that just gives you extra boost. So if you're at like the bottom of a hill, you can like pull up the surfboard real quick and just get that extra little jump off that hill, get that momentum going again. Feels really good. There's also a grapple hook and a couple of other ones I won't spoil, but the grapple hook is one of my favorites too, because like it puts a little grapple hook point in your screen, so you can kind of like, oh, there's a hill over there, I can grapple to the top of that, get it perfect, get some more momentum going. And each of these little levels are probably like 30 seconds to a minute. They're not super long, but you do about 20 to 30 of them in a stretch with a bunch of different varieties that you can go through. And then there's also, when you're going up like the roguelike tree, so like I said, there's 10 of these that you got to do. And I'm not going to say it's very punishing because they're actually not that bad, because a run, I would say, lasts maybe 20 minutes. Like, it's not like you're going to be doing like a lot of backtracking or having to repeat a lot of stuff. But there are shops that you can go to. So there are these little sparky shard things that you can collect all over the map. And they actually show you good lines that you can do too. So they're kind of like lined up with the hill, so you can like follow the shards, and it makes a really satisfying as you go over the hill, as you're collecting everything. And then as you can do a bunch of passives and a bunch of things to increase your boost and basically make yourself just super speed, which, that's kind of the point. And it really does feel good once you get like, you can do also you can pick up items that are kind of like boosts, like running shoes that are a little faster. So if you hit like R1, you'll get like a 30% boost for 10 seconds, things like that. So it's like, if you really start chaining these things together, you're just flying. You're literally flying through the stage. Like, you're not even touching any hills because you're going so fast. So the sense of momentum and speed is just probably the best I've seen in maybe any game. It's really up there. So,
do obstacles ever feel unavoidable? Like in Sonic games, that can happen, right?
A little bit. I will say, like, when you get more towards like the end of the last shard, it starts to get a little busy. Like the 10th shard's it's the challenging shard, right? It's the last area, so they're really throwing everything at you. So that one is probably the one that took me the longest to get through. I probably took top maybe 3 tries on at the very most on every other shard. That one I probably took 10 tries, because it's like they're really throwing some obstacles. They're really making it difficult. They're like breaking up the scenery, so you're just falling into abysses and stuff a little bit more at the end there, just to give you that extra challenge.
I like that. Like, I think in a game like this that was linear, right, you would just learn it. You would be like, okay, so that you would learn the paths through the levels, but the fact that it's roguelike in this case means that you can't do that. So it's a different kind of challenge, right? You have to kind of learn how to think in the game and like see things coming and how to spend your power-ups, and it's different every time, right? So I like the idea of not being able to learn it, but just having to learn the game rather than the levels.
Yeah, and it's like it's procedural. It's so procedural that, in fact, you can actually go up to the shards and click a button and just put in a random seed if you want to. Like, you can just put a word in there, just like any other procedural game. so yeah, it's very much learning the mechanics. The more you learn the mechanics and feel like, if you know the mechanics, you probably can just do every run really easily. Like once you know how to play the game, like if I went back right now after playing, okay, so the game's about, it took me about 12 hours to get credits on this one. Might take somebody like 6 hours if they're just better at the gameplay. You know, it just really depends on your skill level, or you know, me just being tired at home, like barely like bleary eyed trying to play this, you know, or something. But if someone's like more alert and they're like in it and they're really good at the gameplay, they probably can beat it way faster than I did. But there's also, which is nice, they also have a shard that's an infinite shard, which you just basically they just keep generating levels until you just lose your health, and then you know you can see how far you can get, which is pretty fun. That one's cool. It's like, oh, you know, that's a little challenge for yourself. Like, can I get to like 50 little levels that I can get through, or 100 this time? You know, nice little added challenge there.
The way you're describing it, to almost sounds like a rhythm game to me, where like understanding the chart obviously helps you, but at some point you kind of just build a base understanding of how to sight read certain patterns and things, and can like even clear difficult things the first time you see them because you're just kind of aware of the language of the game, which is cool. I am curious. I see that they just updated for co-op. Did you do any multiplayer? I don't really know how the multiplayer would work in a game like this.
I haven't. I guess that it would be more like your two people running, I guess. I don't know. There is a secondary character that you meet that is a runner from a different realm or something. There's it's kind of the story's very like cookie cutter, I would say. It's not like the most deep story ever. Like I said, it's very like kids show vibes. Like you're like meeting characters, they're talking, and it's like, okay, you got to get to the end of this thing. It's just a means to an end. You're not gonna. It's not Kentucky Route Zero. You're not gonna be here thinking and you know, having this deep intellectual conversation about the story on this one. But it does keep you moving along for sure. But so what I was saying about that is you do have another runner. So I'm guessing that runner would be, you know, the co-op partner, I would assume. So
interesting.
Does it switch up the levels? Like, you know, I think the thing that I like about Dead Cells over Hades, right, is that in Dead Cells, like you can find different areas and different orders. Like, you know, in Hades, it's always the same 4. It's always the same 4, 4, 4, 4. You always know what's going to, you know, which boss is coming, even if there are variants. I really like roguelikes where they mix it up a little, and like in Dead Cells, you find a door you never seen before, and suddenly the second level is like the poison tree level, rather than the same boss again and again and again. Is this one like shuffling the order of biomes, and are the biomes sort of significantly different?
Yeah, for sure. So the shards are usually placed in a biome on like the hub world. So there's a hub world you go into the shards of. So they'll be like, okay, this is the desert one. So a lot of this will feel more deserty. And then this one, there's one that's more snow biome focused. But the thing I like about this game is just out of nowhere, you'll just go to a stage and it'll be inverted. Like the graphic style is just inverted for no reason. It just looks really cool, just because they thought it looked cool, you know. Or I just don't want to spoil too many of these, but I'll spoil one more. You'll go to another one. It's kind of like bitmappy, like pixelated a little bit. I actually thought it was a little noisy and hard to see, but it was kind of fun to play that one little level like that, you know. They'll throw that at you. Just, I feel like they're just rare enough to where it's like, it's just a nice thing where you kind of get used to how the game feels, and then they're like, here's this most gorgeous art style you've ever seen with this sunset in the distance. You're like, whoa. It's so striking. It just hits you out of nowhere. So there's a lot of that in this game. A lot of unexpected things, because this game could get really boring really easily, because obviously you're just running, right? You're just you get the rhythm down, you're going, and that's the game. But they throw enough at you to where it's interesting. There's also as you're kind of making your way up these paths, you know, you can select your path all the way up to the boss, progression, whatever, through the shard. There are like these broken shards that are kind of like saturated, like dark midnight looking, and they're the more challenging running levels, and they have like a lot more hazards. They have like big laser beams that are like instant, like they'll take a heart off you instantly, and like big old, like if you're going up there, you're like, okay, if I hit that one, I know it's going to be tough. I don't know if I'll make it through, but if you get through it, you get like an extra power up. So that's pretty nice. And then there's a shops as well, and then you can basically build your guy up to make her a little bit more powerful. You got question mark events, which are kind of like challenge rooms. There's like collect these little critters that are running around the map, or hey, go collect as much shards as you can on this little or sparks. I think they're called sparks. All these sparks around the map, and try not to die as the world's crumbling. And that one's not really a run. Those ones aren't really runner stages. They're kind of just like little open zones that you kind of have to do little challenges in, which changes up the pace too. So lots of variety in the game.
Yeah, someone finished this on the Gaming in the Wild Discord, and we got like a channel where people post their thoughts at the end. And there was a couple of really interesting thoughts. Do you want to hear what they said? They had 2 points to make. They said, I have 2 feelings to express. It was soccer on the Gaming in the Wild Discord. And they said it took them 19 hours to see credits. They played it on Steam Deck. And they said, the difficulty gets frustratingly uneven, and punishment often feels too harsh for things largely out of my control. And then the second feeling was, the core gameplay, especially with the music, is the most thrilling and mesmeric of any game I've ever played.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So like...
Yeah, so it's both ends of the spectrum there almost, right?
Yeah.
I could see if somebody wasn't vibing with the gameplay on this one to be like, not my thing, I'm good. But if you get into the rhythm and you get that feeling down, it's intoxicating. It's like playing like a really hard Guitar Hero song, like Steve was saying, like a rhythm game song. Like I'm mastering a moveset. I will say the music is spectacular. Like it's like very like drum and bass vibe, like very house style music here and there. Some little bit of pixel music occasionally. I was looking up the soundtrack. There are 3 hours and 42 minutes of music for this game. So
Wow.
I feel like I'm sure I did hear the same track twice, but it feels like I didn't. You know, it feels like there was always a new track playing. So it's just so much music, and it's all really good, and all just gets you pumped up and ready to just get out there and get to the end of these levels. So to me, personally, playing the game, at first I was a little frustrated. I'm like, I don't really get what I'm supposed to do, you know. And then you do it a couple more times, and you do it 3 or 4 more times. It's that roguelike thing where you kind of like, as you start learning the game, you like the itch and the addiction starts setting in, because this is one I was just gonna try and just see if I liked it. And then 3 days later, I'm like 8-10 hours in, I'm like, crap, I'm addicted, you know. I want to see the end of this thing. So
I'm buying it on Steam right now.
Okay, sounds good. I'm selling it.
Yeah, on my phone.
I will say,
so
if
I can play it when we're done.
I will say, if anybody is kind of curious about the game, there is a pretty significant demo that gives you like 1 run to do. So if you guys want to try the game out, just see if it's for you, download the demo, do a run, and then you'll probably be addicted like me and be like, all right, time to play the game. It's not a very expensive game. It's $20. So I got it on sale for like, I think 18 or something. So if you want to wait for a Steam sale or something, perfect to throw on the wish list too. I'll see if there's anything else I want to talk about for this game before I give any closing thoughts. But I will say, like, this one surprised me. I expected to like it. I knew it was very much my thing. I do like Sonic games. You know, I was like, oh yeah, it does scratch that Sonic itch a little bit. But I will say it more scratches like a rhythm game itch for me. Like, it's like I'm feeling the rhythm of the platforming, and it's just a really well playing game, and I thought it was super charming. And I will say, it does get a little chatty here and there. So the story is, like I said, it's not very deep. So if you want to skip the story, you're not going to miss like a lot. You could just thumb through it. But I thought it was cute enough to read and to be to enjoy it. So there's different characters that you meet. And there's like a little hub area to upgrade your character. So if you lose a run, I will say this before we wrap up my game, but if you lose a run, you get something called anti-sparks, and it's kind of the meta progression of the game. So you can start off with a little bit more health. That's where you get like an extra heart, so you can take on a little bit more damage. You get like a little bit of percentage boost when you start, like 10%, you know, stuff like that. And then that can keep you going a little bit too. So it's like, if I lose a couple runs, I'm like, I got 500 anti-sparks. Let's see what's at the shop, you know, go to the shop, level up a couple things, and then go back on my runs. So any questions before I put it on the quest log today?
You might have mentioned this, Josh, but do you win several runs before you actually beat the game?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So the premise of the game, there's 9 shards in this giant like hub area. So you defeat the 9 shards, and then they kind of basically make the big 10th giant shard that you got to go and do the final run to beat the final boss. And I will say there are a few. I would say there's a handful of bosses. They do reuse the bosses a couple times, but they try to like do a new spin on that same boss. So it's not like you're doing the same boss 10 times. You're doing maybe like 4 or 5 bosses a couple of times each, but they'll amp up the difficulty of them. Like the snake one, you do that a couple times. But the first time, you're going through, there's some lasers shooting at you. It's not too bad. The second time, there's a million lasers shooting at you. There's a bunch of things blowing up. There's bombs that blow up on the snake. So you got to kind of avoid the bomb, land back on the snake, things like that. So, but I just don't want to spoil any other boss because I think that's part of the discovery of the game. But the snake was my favorite. I just thought that was such a cool boss design. It was just really fun to experience.
I got one question for you.
Sure.
Are the levels all linear?
Yeah. Like I said, they're all linear except for those challenge room stages where you chase down the characters, or there's get to the end of the portal and you kind of puzzle out where the portal is in this open world area, or collect 10 rings. It's very Sonic energy on that one. Yeah. And things like that, but they will have open zone worlds that you can do, but usually it's in those question mark random challenge stages. So all the other stages you're just running straight to the end portal. So
yeah, I like the idea of the linear ones especially. I think I did try the demo of this one in Steam Next Fest, right, where there's you're playing 30 games in quick succession, and like you said, I think Haste may appear real tricky if you're doing a 20-minute little test run, but it sounds like you have to kind of get to a level where you're able to read it and to get it, and then it will start clicking.
Yeah, and also, you didn't remind me, there is a really good and deep difficulty system that you can... I think I might have put down the notes what the difficulty options are, but basically it's basically you have steady, balanced, and sprint or something like that, and you can select those. And there's also a bunch of sliders too. So if you're I'm just tired of these obstacles, you can just turn the obstacles down to 20% from 100% if you want to do that too. So if the game's a little challenging for you, the game doesn't take away your achievements or anything. You can go ahead and just bump those down a little bit. If it's just I didn't mess with it too much because I'm out. I like the challenge of it. But if someone's I just want a chill game where I'm running, you could just turn it all the way down and not even have to worry about it. So which is really nice.
Double sold.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm going to put this on a main quest today. I really think it's going to be a standout for me for the year too. I love little games like this, a game where you just you might be mildly interested. The trailer looks cool. Maybe a GIF looked cool, and you try it out and then you just fall in love with it. That's what happened with Haste today. And this last couple weeks here. And I just really think that everybody should give it a chance. It's such a fun game. Once you get the gameplay down, you just really don't want to put it down. It's really good. And one last thing, I played it on keyboard and mouse. It works great. It actually works really good with the keyboard and mouse, WASD and mouse to aim. But I prefer playing with controller or Steam Deck, with the controller as well. So both control options are great and work really well. But controller to me felt right and felt at home because, it felt very nostalgic, like a platformer feel. So,
right.
Yeah, Haste, check it out. It's a great game.
You sold me. I added it to play before the end of the year list, sitting confidently below the altars and above Wheel World. So, thank you.
Yeah.
That's 3 good ones there.
Yeah, it's kind of a good mixture. All right.
There's already too many good games.
Well, do you want John to go next? I think John should go next. You want to go next, John? You feeling it?
Sure.
It's not about what I want. It's about what John wants.
Yeah.
Whatever you guys like. I can go if you want.
Yeah.
Or Steve can go since there was a question mark for his game. Either way.
Nah, let them hear John, and then once they're all in a good mood after hearing his voice for a while, then I can take mine and it'll seem better.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, well, I had a look at the quest log. I was because you covered a lot of games, man. You covered a lot of my favorites. I'm an IndieQuest listener and have been since pretty much the start. I can't remember where I found it, but I think it was episode 3 or something. And I've just been listening to it ever since. And so, but it's a lot of games now. So I was okay, I'm going to have to find something that's not on there already. I looked at the spreadsheet. Hopefully it's not on there. I searched it. I looked on both tabs for main quest and side quest. I don't think it's there. But one of my games of the year wasn't on it. And I was like, well, that has to be the one, I guess, like from the last 5 years. The other 4 were. And one game by this developer was, but not this one. So let me set the scene and see if you can guess what it is. It's
Oh boy, here we go.
the year 2022. Elden Ring is the game of the moment. Indie fans are playing like Stray, Tunic, Norco, Cult of the Lamb. And this came onto the scene, I would say, as a relative outsider game. People knew the developer. They knew the previous 2 games. They got acclaimed. And one of them is on the quest log, like I said. But I don't think many people were waiting with bated breath for this game until, like Edge in the UK. It's a print magazine, so it comes out before the embargo sometimes. So you can get like an early taste of whether people are feeling the game from Edge. And it got a 10 out of 10. And I remember seeing like a full page ad, like 10 out of 10, Edge magazine. And everyone suddenly woke up to this game and were interested in it. It became a critical darling. It launched onto Game Pass. Did well in awards season. I don't know if you need any more. I've given you quite a lot. Don't know if do you want the awards or do you want to take guesses?
Vampire Survivor.
No.
Nope.
No.
I think that's
while
on
you
the
were
quest
talking,
log.
I pulled up my 2022 game of the year list, and I'm like, I've pretty much brought every single game on here, unless it's Melatonin somehow.
No,
which would
that's
really
a great
be
game. That
nice
should be on the
surprise.
quest log, but it's not that.
Is it Dead Cells?
It's not Dead Cells. Okay, so the awards season, Golden Joystick for Best Performer, Game Developers Choice Awards for Best Narrative, 3 Game Awards nominations, no wins. It won a New York Game Critics Award, and it won, but most importantly of all, of course, Gaming in the Wild Game of the Year.
Should have been an obvious one here. It's got to be Immortality.
It's Immortality. You got it.
Yeah.
That was the one Game of the Year from the 5 years that I've been doing it. That wasn't on the quest log, so that's the game I'm bringing. Have you guys played that one?
I have. This was one of those victims of timing where I played it, I think, January 2023, and I played it with my wife, and she and I both were obsessed with it. And I remember turning to her and saying, if I had played this 2 months ago, my Game of the Year list would have looked pretty different, I think.
Okay, interesting to know. Where do you
Once
think
they're
it would have
set in stone,
slotted into
you can't
yours?
It was, I mean, that's a tough year. Tunic that year, Citizen Sleeper that year, Neon White that year, Tinykin that year.
Yeah.
2022 just didn't let up.
Yeah, that was a tough top 5 for me. I spent quite a bit of time on Game of the Year, and like Stray, Citizen Sleeper, I think Signs of the Sojourner, Hot and Norco, I think, was that year as well. It was a big year for Game Pass that year. Like, that was the year when like 6 out of 10 on my top 10 were all Game Pass games.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been like 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Immortality. It is by Half Mermaid, aka Sam Barlow, maker of Her Story and Telling Lies. He worked on Silent Hill as well before that. He was like a sort of jobbing game designer before that, but he really found his thing by doing this cinema video game crossover, and has sort of pioneered it. Like FMV games were like, there are fans out there, and there are people still making them. Like Wales Interactive keep churning them out, like these sci-fi or court case or murder stuff, but very much like a niche, and a niche that is, I don't know, people got thoughts about FMV games not being games and all of that kind of thing, but like no one's quite done it the way that Sam Barlow does it, right? They're really interesting mechanically, and you're sorting through clips in these games. Like in Her Story, it's a single person giving testimony to camera, and Telling Lies, it's like a mixture of different shots that you're sorting through, and you do it by words. And Telling Lies, you can type in a word and you'll be taken to another clip, which can be, there's a lot of handheld footage, there's a lot of shaky footage of like meetings because there's someone undercover, and like a sort of intimate footage, or like 2-camera diary-esque or video calls. And so you're searching through all of this stuff, trying to get to the bottom of the story, and it's all about really solving the puzzle. What's the keyword that's going to get me there? And then Immortality blew up that formula again in a really spectacular way. It's the story of an actress who made 3 films, none of which were ever released. And you start with a random clip, and off you go. And in this one, you object match. So the mechanic here is that if you click on a crucifix, you'll be taken to another random clip that contains a crucifix. Or if you click on, because it's cinema footage, someone will come onto the screen and do a clapboard. and then leave. And so it's not just the film footage, it's all sorts of other stuff. And you really have to sort of solve this mystery, and you'll be taken into a random point in the clip. So if you click on a crucifix, you don't go to the start of a clip with the crucifix. You're thrown in midway. You can then wind it back. You can wind it forward. You can like pass the footage, see where you are. Like try and identify people, like actors that are in different films that reappear, and slowly you start, I don't know, like finding your way through this constellation of film clips that are disassociated but start to become associated in your mind as you start to put together the characters of the different movies, and so forth. So it's kind of a detective game with a mechanic that I've never seen before.
Yeah, and it's really impressive how well it works. I don't know if they took the time to like painstakingly build all these connections, or if they have some like automated system that is like visual matching, but it like really clicks in interesting ways, because sometimes you'll jump from object to object that they're the same, but they're not the same like implementation of that object, if it makes sense. So you might click on, I don't think this is a real one, but an example would be like a cat walks on scene, and you'll click on the cat and it might take you to like a cat within an oil painting in the background of a different scene and things like that. So it's matching that thing, but in different places and in very creative ways. And you start getting really excited, after you've played the game for 5 hours. You've clicked on all the actors a dozen times. You've clicked on the clipboards. Every now and again in the background, you'll see just like an interesting bauble, like a weird new thing. And you're like, oh, something that's going to take me somewhere fresh. Let's go.
Yeah, there were some really good moments like that. I remember like a tracking shot where someone's walking towards the camera. And if you wind it all the way back to the beginning, there's a moment where the camera guy sort of puts the camera down because he's like talking or something, and you see like a sandwich or something, and you're like, oh, there it is, it's the sandwich at the start of the clip, and you click on that and it'll take you somewhere else, so you really do have to explore the clips. I kind of love, and I'm not someone who plays a lot of FMV games, to kind of preface this, but
I always think of FMV games as like your late 80s, early 90s, grainy, goofy games, right? So I kind of love that this is like fully modern cinematic experience. It's cool. It's, to me, a little bit unique compared to when you say FMV game, to the average video game player, they're going to think of those old Night Trap and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it's definitely like a bit of a tarnished genre in that way.
Yeah,
but this one's kind of different. It's like I would say the thing that I really like about it is that the clips that you get are so varied. Like you will get chemistry tests where there's like a male lead and a female lead who are sitting together. Someone's holding a camera in a bedroom. It's kind of awkward, and they are supposed to see if they can realistically kiss each other and it feels okay to them. Then you will get location scouting where an actress might be with a producer. And you're like, why is she with him? That's interesting. Maybe there's something going on between them. And they're literally just standing on a rooftop looking at New York. Or you will get like a rap party where someone's pointing a shaky camera at the stage and a director's giving a speech, and you'll see like looks between the cast when he says something, and you're like, maybe they don't like him that much. And then you'll get like someone, like a couple, just sort of filming each other and making jokes and goofing around. You might get some off-camera chat between extras. You'll get table reads where people are reading the lines, and it's not just about the script, but it's about the dynamics between the characters, and all of that matters. You start working out the relationships. How do people know each other? Do they like each other? How does all of that fit into the mystery? And then there are mechanics that are like ultimate spoiler material that I cannot tell you about, like just straight can't mention, because finding them in the game is part of the game. And in an Inscription-y kind of way, there is more than meets the eye in the game. And you will end up in places where your blood runs cold when you realize what's going on in this footage. I sat, at the end of the game, I sat just staring at the screen with my mouth open. Like for I was just sitting there going, what? What's
going on?
Yeah. What just happened to me? So it kind of came in out of nowhere for me, like towards the end of the year. And I think I was pretty happy with Citizen Sleep Astray as my game of the year. And I was like, you know what? Like no one's made anything like Immortality before. This is something new. It's cinema game crossover in a way that has not existed to this point. And so for that alone, it had to go in with a bullet for me. I think everyone was very surprised by this. I think the listeners of the podcast kind of had me down for Citizen Sleeper.
I think even like a lot of fans of Sam Barlow were surprised by it too, because her story was obviously like this big, like breakout success. Everyone was very surprised at this new way of doing FMV. And my interpretation of the reaction and kind of my feelings on Telling Lies were that it was like a strong sequel. Like it was doing a lot of the same things, but like just beefed up, a little more production value. And then Immortality felt like where was the 3 other games in between Telling Lies and Immortality that led to this point? It felt like a really large leap by pretty much every metric, by production value, like mechanics, creativity, all that stuff. So it was really surprising and very fun.
Yeah. And like for cinephiles, like there's 3 films that are made in different decades, right? So you get titles that look like that. You get film stock. They're shot on film stock that belongs to that decade. Like the 60s one's kind of grimy, and they're using real screen space effects where they're walking in front of paintings, like Star Wars style, and they're painting detail. And then in the more modern 70s one, it's very noir, and they're using like a little handheld camera, so it's all shaky, sort of New York film noir style, with titles that match, with haircuts that match on the people doing the clipboards. It's like real period piece. And the 90s one is like Hand That Rocks the Cradle style, like slick, digital maybe. It's maybe the first time that's moving into... So he used like the right kind of film for the decade, the right kind of titles for the decade, the right kind of fashion for the decade. And you can watch all the films, like not end to end, because some of it will be table read, some of it will be like a stunt take or like an outtake that went wrong. But all of the films are there. So he literally did go in, write 3 films for this one. It's bonkers.
Do all choices lead to the same inevitable end, or are there, depending on the choices you make, can you have different endings?
There is an ending, but it's a little up to chance what you find and don't find. Like different people will uncover things that will give them a different view on the story. I've talked to people that had a very different take to me on what was actually happening. It's one of those games where you have to talk about it after. You have to talk to people about it, talk about what you did and didn't see. There are scenes that I did not find that are quite key. But I had the ballpark of what was going on by the end. But there's depth there. And that's maybe my main criticism of the game, actually, is that if you don't find a certain thing, if you just don't clock something, you can start to feel like you're going through the same clips and like wanting something new. I do kind of wish that there was a way to mitigate that a little so that, I don't know, like, what would it even be, though? It's like a game of mystery. If you start to demystify it by giving people like a hint system, then maybe you start to erode the mystery of it all. But as a player, I definitely felt, when I got to the end, I had missed some quite key stuff, actually. Some clips that I would have loved to see that would have really made the story click. And so it came together in my mind in the time after I played, through talking to people, watching videos and that kind of thing. I think people do or don't like that kind of thing. It's definitely one where you'll find yourself on Reddit reading plot theories,
right.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, my question was like, since it's such an organic storytelling game, is it like one where you're going to have a notebook where you're jotting down little, like, okay, maybe I need to look this up, or like, are you going to do the blueprints, like have a whole book, composition book with like a bunch of notes or anything like that, or is it mostly just in-game stuff?
You could play it that way. I'm sure a lot of people did play it that way. I just kind of freestyled my way through it. But maybe it would have made more sense to me if I tried that, like a more active style of playing.
Yeah.
You probably won't play it like methodically. Like you could go through like clip by clip by clip and sort of like, point and click adventure style, just start clicking on everything, see if it brings you somewhere new or not. There's just so many possible directions to go from each clip, and there's so much to do that you're just going to end up kind of following your nose and following your thread that you're on. Every now and again, you might be like, okay, there's 2 or 3 things in this clip that I know I want to click on, and I can only do one right now. And maybe you'll jot down a note like, hey, remember to go back to this clip and click on the little statue of the Virgin Mary or whatever. But other than that, as a known notebook enthusiast, I did not have an Immortality notebook.
And you can sort the clips in interesting ways, right? You get them all on a big board that you can sort them chronologically, or you can sort them by film or by type. And so maybe
Okay.
if you get investigative on it, you can start to identify holes in the story and look for them.
Nice. I was just gonna say, the only game I've played from Barlow is Her Story, so I haven't played Telling Lies or this one yet. It's kind of like holes in my backlog that I need to get to at some point. So I kind of know what Her Story's kind of thrust is and how that one works, but this one sounds like it's like that, but like times 1,000. Pretty much.
Yeah, and this game had a feeling. Like, it came out in the autumn.
Yeah.
It was getting dark at night. It was like wet and gusty outside. I remember drawing the curtain, starting it up on my Xbox in front of the monitor with a drink in the dark, and just being transported into the screen. It's one of those games that I look back on my time playing it. It was like 3-4 nights in a row where I was just dying to get off work and get into it again, and like getting ready to play it like this. It's Immortality time. So it was definitely a mood and a moment that kind of hit right for me. I guess quite obviously for me, it's a main quest. I mean, I think that maybe it's a critical response agrees with that. I mean, it's one of those games that's like something of a landmark, I would say. Like, I've been sometimes you play a game and you're like, I wonder what will come after this. Like, it's one of those games that could act as like a crux point that sort of accelerates a genre in a new way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those games where I'm excited for the games that come after it. So it's a main quest for me, obviously.
Right. I was looking on Steam, and it actually has mixed on Steam. I was surprised by that. And then I was kind of like reading some of the reviews, and they're all kind of like, this is pretentious, a lot of that going on in the comments there. But I kind of, you know how people get. I don't think it's that bad. I'm sure if you enjoyed it, I'm sure it has a great story when it comes down to it. Like, people just like to hate on stuff, I feel like, sometimes.
I'm surprised to learn that. Yeah, I would disregard that. It's awesome. John, I'm curious. I know you're not like a collector-minded person. Did you get either the like fancy edition or the like DesignWorks book from Lost in Cult for Immortality?
The book's on order, not the fancy edition. Like which edition you get depends on like your bank account at the time, right? Like some days you're like, you know what, I'm going to get that fancy box, and some days you're like, oh shit, I'm just going to get the basic. I went for the basic on that occasion. I kind of regret it because the box has scripts and ticket stubs, film posters, and like annotated stuff in there that apparently Sam Barlow has made into like a bit of an ARG extra clues kind of vibe. So I'm really bummed that I didn't get the special edition, but at least the base book is coming.
Yeah, I'm excited. I got the book on order too, so I'm pumped to get that. Very cool. Now I don't have to bring Immortality. Thank you for saying that.
Cool. Happy to clear one off the log for you.
It's definitely one that needs to be on the list. So it's just like, it feels like a classic at this point. Like, it's very fondly looked back on. I know for sure. It's one that's I feel like would be have a big winter break coming up this year. I feel like that would be perfect for my partner and I to sit on the couch and just like piece through that game. I feel like that's perfect for that vibe.
Yeah, second pair of eyes would be useful in that game. There's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as John said, it's a really good nighttime game. It's great to play like in the evening right before bed, and it'll leave your thoughts kind of spinning a little bit.
One note on this, right? Good to play on a controller for reasons that are undisclosable. Play it on a controller. People have played on mouse and keys and they missed some stuff.
Oh,
that's a good point. Yeah, I played on Xbox and it controls great. Cool. Great game. Well, Seth, are you a little time crunched? Do you want to go next just in case, or are you good?
We've got 2 hours before I have to leave here, so I'm hoping, unless you're going to talk for an hour and a half, Steve, I think we should be good if you want to go next.
Okay, I can take it next then, because you're always a great closer. We want to leave the people on a positive vibe. So, I'm bringing a game that, Josh, I know that you've played, and I think it's gotten a bit of buzz. It's another 2025 game. This is going to be Ruffy and the Riverside.
Oh,
John, have you played this one?
Played the demo. It was in that same set as Haste, actually. It was in that like Next Fest alum section, wasn't it?
Yes. And I think this is another one similar to Haste where it shows very well on things like Instagram and TikTok and Blue Sky and stuff like that. You just see a screenshot of the game and you're immediately very pulled in because it has this sort of Paper Mario Demon Turf art style. But to cover kind of the basics, it's developed by, I don't actually know if it's Zocrates or Zocrates. In my heart, I want it to be Zocrates Laboratories. Just came out a couple weeks ago on June 26th, and it's available on all the platforms, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. I would say that Ruffy and the Riverside is a puzzle-first, light exploration 3D platformer. It's developed by someone who clearly grew up playing Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, that then went on to play Breath of the Wild, and it's trying to combine both of those sensibilities into one thing. Normally, I would not even care to give you like a story setup for a game like this because it's a 3D platformer, but the game wants you to care about the story, which we will get into, and so I will respect that, and I will tell you that you play as Ruffy, this little kind of, I think, a bear character. He looks like almost like a plush bear, honestly. He's very cute, very plushable.
That dude is an Ewok.
Okay, yes.
It looks like one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right down to like the little like cape cowl thing that he's wearing. Yes. Kind of has the attitude and energy of one too in a little bit. You play as Ruffy, and you are kind of exploring this area outside of your town and the surrounding area of Riverside. You accidentally unleash what is essentially an evil Rubik's Cube. Its name is Groll, and Groll just wants to be a video game villain. It wants to destroy this MacGuffin called the World Core, which is just a crystal that is important in this world. And to stop it, you have to collect a bunch of items. You have to collect the letters to the... It's very strange. It's kind of a fun idea. I don't really know why this was the setup, but above the city is a Hollywood sign style Riverside board. So just a bunch of white letters up on a hill above the city. And for some reason, this Rubik's Cube destroys those, and it scatters those the letters to Riverside, the 6 letters that make up the word Riverside, to 6 different parts of the world. And then you're off collecting those different things. So I think your enjoyment of Ruffy is going to come down to your expectations. So I want to, in describing this, set expectations for what this game is and is not. First and foremost, this is not a 3D platformer. When I say 3D platformers, I think a lot of people think okay, Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, maybe even Tinykin, a lot of navigating big open worlds, maybe a lot of verticality, obstacles, trying to make jumps without falling down and lowering the level and having to restart, that type of thing. It clearly has a reverence for those and has moments of that, but that is not what Ruffy and the Riverside is. It is instead a very small, very dense open world exploration game that has some light 3D platforming. Most of what you're going to be doing is solving little mini puzzles. You're going to spend much more time solving light puzzles than you are actually jumping around. Much more time than that. And a big reason for that is kind of the central conceit of the game, the thing that you see, again, the demos very well on things like Blue Sky, where you have this swapping mechanic. So at any point, Ruffy can grab essentially the texture, the material, what makes up something in the environment, and then can apply that to something else in the environment. So you can grab the wood from the trunk of a tree, and maybe there's a giant metal, a bunch of boxes that are made out of metal blocking your path. You can turn all those into wood boxes and then Crash Bandicoot spin through them, continue on through the level. Or a couple other examples that you'll run into that are sort of intuitive like that are, maybe there's a little iceberg. You grab the ice, you can apply that to the texture of the lake or the ocean that you're on, and now you can walk across that entire lake and get to other areas.
Kind of gives me that new Zelda game vibe a little bit, where you're just trying to take stuff from the environment and find a fun way to use it, right? Which is interesting.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes you kind of you gain a little bit of intuition about this as you play, but it's not always as direct as I grab this material and turn this other thing into this material. Sometimes you're grabbing so, if I take the wood from the trunk of a tree, I'll get wood. But if I grab the leaves off of a tree, I'll get the color green, not the texture of leaves. And then now I can apply the color green to something, maybe that's going to solve a puzzle somewhere. Or if there's arrows that point up or down in the world, you grab I guess the momentum up or the momentum down and apply them to other things that will lift them up or lower them down. So you're not always just changing material. Sometimes you're actually changing like the physical movement of an object, the color of an object, different things like that. You don't like have like a pool of them that you're building up. You only ever can grab something and then you can hold on to it for like 10 or 15 seconds as a meter ticks down, and then you can apply it somewhere or lose it. So it's not like every time you see new material, you're adding it to your repertoire. Instead, you're looking in the immediate area of the puzzle to be like, what is here that can help me solve something? And what you're going to actually be doing in terms of solving something is solving puzzles to get a bunch of different collectibles, basically. There's a few kind of key main ones that you're going to be finding. One of them is these little creatures called the Etoi, which are like, they basically are little Furbies. One of them is Dreamstones, which are just like this like crystal with a spiral on it. It just looks like the object you would collect in a 3D platformer. You know, it's a shine spark, it's a star from Mario, things like, it's a Jiggy. And then a couple other items that are usually related to quests. So I'll just kind of walk you through what my experience was starting the game to give you an idea of what the loop is. You start in the town of Riverside, you'll kind of do like the basics, the tutorial. You'll exit Riverside, you go through this small forest, and you come into this large open field. And that is where you're going to honestly spend the majority of the game, is that one field. And as you stand on this cliff above it and look out, like you can see basically the totality of the field. So like it's not large to run from one side to the other, but it is so dense with just stuff. Like there is so many things to look at and see. As soon as I hit that field, there was like a little quest, like, hey, go over to this beach and talk to this character to progress the story. I instead spent like 4 hours running in just that field, solving a bunch of little tiny quests and puzzles and things like that. So I say puzzles, but like the level of puzzling that we're talking about here is very similar to like finding a Korok in Breath of the Wild. So you might come up and then there's like a box that's maybe out of place. You break that, there'll be one of those Etoi inside. Or you will find a stack, like a 3x3 stack of metal boxes, and then somewhere else in the environment you'll find like graffiti on the wall that shows a 3x3 grid, but like the top 2 corners are missing. And so you have to find a wood texture somewhere, turn those top 2 corners of the metal boxes into wood, break those to match that picture. You get an Etoi. It's just stuff like that over and over and over, but you walk like 1 foot, another thing, 1 foot, another thing, 1 foot, another thing. And then very Ocarina of Time style, there's that central field, that central hub, and then there's like spokes out to different, unique areas that are a little bit more linear. They have less to collect and find. They're usually like, it's kind of like one extra zone per letter of the word Riverside that you're going to be hunting down. Then, there's also a bunch of quests that you're going to be doing for people. There's a lot of characters in this game. This is a very discussion heavy game, as I'm going to get into here. But you'll talk to people that'll usually be like, hey, can you find me 3 of this thing? Or can you go do this thing in 5 different places? You'll spend about 90% of your overall time in the game talking to people and solving those puzzles. So,
I think it was like 95% talking to people, and then 5% like trying to do little puzzles. Okay, I will say real quick, I did play this game. I played up at a few hours into it, and I was expecting the 3D platformer. I wasn't expecting a puzzle game, so it was just not what I was in the mood for, and I was kind of getting more frustrated. I was like, all right, let's do something else. So that's what I kind of put it down for now. I'll go back to it, but I was kind of like not feeling it at the time. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, that's why I say it's a game of expectations. And I feel like, it's always a tricky thing when you're talking about a game where you personally went in with certain expectations and it wasn't that thing. It's like, how much is that the game's fault versus how much is that my fault?
Yeah.
I will say, Ruffy, if you look at like the trailer on Steam and things like that, they put platforming first for like the majority of the trailer. They're showing you a lot of like running, jumping action and stuff like that, and not as much puzzling until the back half. So I'm not surprised that someone would go into this hoping for a more platform focused game.
Do you think it's one for fans of like Paper Mario type things? Because they're not a lot of platforming, are they? They're like running around like in Origami King. You're like using your little powers, talking to people, clearing the way, that kind of thing. Is it more analogous to like a Paper Mario than a 3D Mario?
Yeah, I think Origami King is probably the perfect like touch point there. It's a little more platformy. You know, sometimes you are having to jump from like mushroom to mushroom to mushroom, and it is the kind of game where occasionally you can like find ways to jump on like, you know, the top of a flagpole or something that you clearly shouldn't be able to stand on. Like your hitbox just happens to land on it. You can sort of like shimmy your way into spots that you shouldn't. But yeah, the like minute to minute loop is much more you have to be invested in the world and the writing and kind of the whimsical, colorful energy that the game brings to like really pull a lot out of it, I think.
Yeah, it's got a nice scribbly look to it, hasn't it? Sorry to cut you off there. It's like if Mario is very like nicely drawn in someone's sketchbook, looks like you could peel them off and use them as a sticker. Ruffy feels a little more like scribbly, chaotic kind of in the vibe.
Like a wiggle
That's
vision,
exactly what I was
right?
exactly going to say. Is it's easy to like kind of get into the vibe of the world because artistically it's really well done. It has that like flat sticker character onto 3D environments. All of them do have that sort of like scribbly colored pencil energy to them where like you can tell that someone like kind of quickly and playfully shaded them in. Also, all the characters have a lot of movement. Like characters cannot stop moving in this world. It's idle animation city. And so as you're like sitting there talking to any other character while they're giving you their little, you know, set of jokes and your little quest, they're going to be like moving their arms up and down and kind of doing this little dance as you talk to them, just because the entire world wants to like be in motion. It wants to be colorful. It wants to be energetic, which I appreciated. It does have a lot of personality. Sometimes, honestly, it's like almost too dense where you'll like be standing there and you'll be looking. And at any point, wherever you're looking in the world, there's probably like 4 things in your line of sight that you could go do right now. So you're having to do a lot of like visually parsing and filtering information out. If you're not a like checklisty, completionisty type of person, if you're more of a mainliner, it'll feel strange playing this game, I think, because you're going to be running past so much, and the main path is going to feel very I don't know that it would feel very satisfying, because a lot of the satisfaction of the game comes from you wandering up to one of these statues that has a grid of symbols and being like, oh, I remember seeing another set of symbols that match that, and rearranging all the tiles to match it and seeing what you get, or you know, coming across this like mural painted on a wall and learning that you can jump into the mural, kind of Mario Odyssey style, and navigate that.
Cool.
It's a lot of the sense of discovery is what you get a lot of the joy from in the game, and so main quest rushers will probably not experience quite so much of that. But yeah,
I wanted to ask you actually, because you know, like the thing with 3D, like 3D platform is hard to make, right? These kind of games, like the ones that we have feel slick, you know, like the Super Lucky's Tales of the world, and like the Tinykin. Even Tinykin feels so slick to play. Does this one like feel good in the moment to moment?
It does, which is why it's almost a shame that they don't use it more. So you have like a basic set of 3-hit combo attacks. You can do like a spin move, but the actual platforming is you have a single jump, and then you have this kind of bee character that comes alongside you, and if you do a double jump, you'll actually do kind of like a distance glide where you're hanging onto the legs of the bee and gliding around. It's very snappy. It's very like responsive. It feels good. You can often like I kind of mentioned before, you can often, especially if you're coming from a higher location, kind of like creatively find weird spots to stand to like get somewhere that maybe you shouldn't be. But it's not satisfying in like the Mario Odyssey sort of like momentum way. This is not a game where you're gonna be like chaining a bunch of your moveset together to navigate areas. It's really just running, jumping, and gliding to get to the various places. So I think it's good as a halfway point between those things. And again, this would actually be a really good game for someone. This sounds like an insult, but like I think like a 12-year-old would have a great time with this game, because the writing and the sense of humor would like probably land with them quite well, and it's a very dense, fun world to explore without ever being overly difficult or anything like that. So,
to be completely fair, these games like this back in the 90s were made for 12-year-olds. So
a lot of the games I like were made for 12-year-olds, right? So I respect my 12-year-old listeners out there, right? Yeah. This is a game for you.
We are those 12-year-olds now, so it's a game for us too.
Pretty much,
yeah. Couple last-minute notes on it. As I mentioned, it is a very chatty game, which did rub me the wrong way, I will say. It's the type of game where you'll go into an area and someone will say like, oh, looks like the next letter we need to collect is off in the Enchanted Forest. Let's head that way. And then you'll exit that room. A different character will pop up and say, hey, are you headed to the Enchanted Forest? I remember that. It's a great place. And it's like, I don't need 2 minutes of conversation with 2 or 3 different characters everywhere I go just to add more personality to the world. It ends up feeling very jarring. Now, granted, when it comes to 3D platformers, I fall preferentially on the extreme other end of the spectrum. Like, Super Mario 64 is my ideal platformer in that it has like 12 text boxes in the entire game. Yeah. There's like one message from Peach at the beginning that says, go into the castle. And then like Bowser, every time you meet him, says like, hey, let's fight. And that's it. And that's exactly what I want. I want to run around and collect stuff and, play with my moveset. I don't really want a story. And this game has quite a bit of a story.
Yeah, I think that was one of my other friction points for the game is like, I'm expecting an Astrobot where it's like, here's this amazing platformer, and then I'm getting a bunch of chatty dialogue and then puzzles, So I was like, okay, maybe I honestly feel like this one will be really good to play like in like the fall or autumn time, like where it's like getting a little cooler outside. This feels kind of like in that zone for me personally.
Yeah, I agree with that. It also would be a game, I kind of gobbled this game down in 3 or 4 days in a couple of big sessions. It's probably a game better spread out so that some of these like irritation points or like a little bit of the repetition in puzzles and stuff doesn't hit you quite as much, right? If you spread it out a little bit more, you're going to, I think, have a little bit more fun, forget some of the things and get to re-experience them in a different way. This is one where I'm like, I don't know if this is a me thing or not, but the game often expects you to run from one side of the world to the other, which again is not huge, but it doesn't take no time. And I don't think there's any fast travel that I found in the game, as far as I know, which is a weird choice, because sometimes they'll literally have a quest that's like, oh, escort this character from one end of the world to the other, and it's just you running. There's no enemies in your way. There's no challenge to speak of. It's just you running for like a minute while you go from one side to the other, which is just
they should have given you like that turbo boost for your B or something just to jet across, right?
Exactly. They actually, it's funny, they give you the ability to like ride on hay bales, and it has this like really nice kind of like flowy momentum to it, can kind of do these drifts and stuff. But in the moments where you need to escort those people, you can't ride on one of those hay bales. So where you most need the fun momentum, you're not allowed to have it. So a bit of a strange choice. But yeah, I will ask, is there any other questions that anybody has on it before I place it?
I'll ask, how's the music? How does it sound?
It's bubbly, it's upbeat in like the way you might expect from a 3D platformer. It's very playful. There's a lot of clear like respect and appreciation for David Wise and folks like that. You can tell that they're borrowing from like Banjo-Kazooie and Mario games in it. It didn't quite stick with me in the way that like Astrobot's music did. It's not something that afterwards I would... Every now and again I play a game, especially a game like this, and I finish it, my first thought is, I need to save this for an IQ OST episode. Like, this is going to come up on the next OST episode we do. This one, less so for me. Now, again, down to your experience playing the game. In fairness, I played a lot of it this last week, which is also Summer Games Done Quick, the charity speedrun marathon, and so I was kind of 2TVing it. Maybe it would have stuck out a little more if I had been putting a little more direct focus on it, but in the situations where I did have the music up, I was like, this match is great. It's just, I don't remember any of the hummable tunes at this point. So
It does sound like a good side screen game, man. There's like different places for games in your life, right? There's like the big TV game where you're all in, and then there's like you're watching a stream playing something that's sort of satisfying and fun and easygoing. Is this one like satisfying, fun, and easygoing enough to just click nicely into that spot?
It is. That's part of where I ran into the friction with all the text, though. Where when I think of like a good side screen game, a good like just in the hands kind of game while you're watching a show or something, it's not one where you want to be doing a lot of reading or a lot of like trying to take in information, because then your brain starts doing that thing where it gets split in half by two different sources of input at the same time. So to account for that, I mean, honestly, at about the 40% mark in this one, I started just skipping through the text. It was one where I just started, anytime someone was talking, I was mashing, it puts an icon on your map where you need to go next. That's all I need to know in a 3D platformer. And that made the experience better for me when I kind of cut that noise out, and that made it a great side screen game.
I suppose I have more of a comment than a question, and we've already mentioned how the game looks, but if anybody from the 90s were to just want to get back into nostalgic gaming, like this game presents so well. Like that's, to me, that must be, based on things you've said, that's such a strong suit of this game. Like if you're just going window shopping and you are nostalgic for this time period, you're going to fall in love with this game. It looks so good.
Yeah, it is really pretty. And again, there's a huge variety in like the characters and the environments. It never stops looking good, and like that Paper Mario style never stopped being fun to look at, even the 10 hours are in or so where I was rounding towards the end of the game. But given all that, I mean, I think it's pretty clear from the back and forth I've had on it. For me, this is like a strong, perfect example for a side quest. It's a game that for a certain type of person, they might really love it. For another type of person, they'll have a good time with it like I did, if they can kind of get through those friction points. If they can, if they either need to like the story or they need to be okay skipping the story. And if they can get past like a little bit of a choppy experience, they'll still have a good time. I was set and ready for this to be like one of my games of the year. I'm squarely in the sights of this type of game. I was like ready for 2025's Tinykin, but I think it'll probably land more like a ukulele for some people.
Right. Yeah, I had that feeling, right? It was like people were red hot on it and excited for it, and then it just kind of goes quiet sometimes.
Yeah, you're like, where's all the discussion of that? Yeah. The silence is saying a lot. But again, not by any stretch a bad game, just a different one than I was expecting, and one that has some points to be aware of.
Yeah, from when I played of it, I would agree, but I want to see the end of this one. It's just cute. Like I think that the number one thing that I enjoy for it is just the visual style. It's just so striking, and the world's just so fun to be in because of that art style, So if you just want a really pretty world to be in, that's unique. That's a definite recommendation for that one.
And I mean, I fully agree. And folks might get just as much out of this game not seeing it through. You could play this game for 2 or 3 hours and have a great time. And a lot of this stuff that they repeat often would feel fresh, and that art style would never stop being novel. So for a lot of folks, this might be a good dip in and then pull back kind of game. I'm just not that type of person. I'm incapable of dipping back out once I've dipped in.
Did you get your platinum trophy on this one?
I did. Yeah, we got one.
All right, okay. Seth's turn. You ready?
I am as ready as I'll ever be. So I played a game, and this is one of those rare instances where we don't often talk about games we're excited for, but we did just last episode. And I just so happened to bring a game this episode that I mentioned in the last one. And I didn't even own it at the time. I had already owned a few different games that I was planning on playing, and for whatever reason, I just kept going back to my wish list because of course, Steam sale was going on prior to this episode. So happened to pick up Starvaders.
Oh, nice.
Yes. This is one of those games, and we've talked about it several times in the past, where there are games that you're going to enjoy, but you just have to be in the right headspace to get that full enjoyment. Like, you don't want to discredit the game at all for whatever headspace you're in, because it's a game that is for you. And I was kind of waiting to get to that point with Starvaders. But finally, felt like, with all the other games I had up for offer, I'm like, I think now is that time. I am ready to play this game. So we hopped in. So, a little bit of background. It released this year on April 30th. It was developed by Pengonauts, and it is, as far as I know, only on PC currently. And it feels very at home on PC. You could... things we'll get into. Inscription style, you could absolutely play this game on console, but it feels right with a mouse. I
think I read that there was a bunch of students, right? And it was like they graduated, made this, and it's like done well. I think I picked that up somewhere.
Oh, I did not know that. And I should do better background research than I do, no doubt. But maybe it's a good and a bad thing that I go in with very fresh eyes, I suppose, because I don't have any other reviewers tainting my thoughts, but I should know that. And yeah, now I guess that would make sense if that's the case. I do know for a fact, though, that it came out of Montreal, which I wanted to mention because one of our buddies, Potomax, is from over that way in Canada. So, and he's always looking for the coolest Quebec games, I suppose. So, all right, overview of this game. It is a turn-based tactics roguelite deck builder. It is absolutely all those things. And it combines all those things quite well, as we will talk about as we go through this. What does it look like? It is a very nice looking pixel art game. Kind of the backgrounds are a little, kind of remind me a little bit of Ruffy in a way, right? With that kind of shaded, colored pencil style. But the actual sprites themselves are very much pixel art sprites that you've seen, to be completely honest, many, many times before. It's nothing that I haven't seen before. I would say that presentation for this game, while good and while completely serviceable, is not the unique experience that you might expect for, or you might want from a new game. So
it's kind of giving me just a little bit of mini shoot adventures, just a little bit of that energy, where it looks good and serviceable, like it's clean, but it's nothing like it's not gonna blow your mind, right?
Yes, it's like mini shoot with more shading in the backgrounds. Like mini shoot did very much like, oh, this is yellow and now this is green. Whereas this is like, oh, let's blend it a little bit more. Let's be a little bit more artsy about it. But the characters themselves, that's a good touch point, Josh. Like the actual enemies and your character that you control are very mini shoot. Yes, I would agree with that. I will say that the character portraits, not like your mech that you pilot, but the characters that you can choose from are good. They're hand drawn seemingly, and there are a lot of different characters, and all are very cool and distinct from each other in terms of the pilots. The grid is basic. It is literally a 8x5 grid that you've seen if you've ever played or looked at any tactical game ever. So nothing crazy going on there. The music, though, is truly one of the best OSTs that I've ever heard, ever. It is absolutely, especially for the limited amount of tracks that there are in this game. I think I've listened to it several times on YouTube already, but I think total there's like 25 minutes of music, maybe a little bit north of that. So probably only 6 to 10 tracks total, but every one of them is an absolute banger. There are no misses on this. It's crazy. To me, it's kind of a mixture of what you get from like Mega Man X, at least that series, and then kind of mixes that with some of the best shmup soundtracks ever, which is crazy for this tactical game. But then there are other times when you just get hit with this violin, and it reminds you of like that somber Zelda Go on Adventure type tune. So just incredible from top to bottom. They did an excellent job with this soundtrack, and I will be listening to it for a long time. And yeah, I mean, people are probably hearing some track from this game right now as I'm talking, but you'll hear it again on an OST in the future for sure. There will be at least one track. It's to the point where it's like, I don't know which one I want to bring. They're all so good. So
is it trying to call back to like Game Boy? To me, this game feels very Game Boy Advance coded. It feels like, Mega Man Battle Network with like a little splash of Advance Wars in there. So I'm wondering if that is like an intentional aesthetic choice that runs through all of the design, or not?
The music itself is not Game Boy. It is orchestral in all the ways. I mean, you know,
Cool.
you're getting hit with violin, you're getting hit with just the most jamming keyboard you've ever heard. You're getting hit with electric guitar. Like it is a very advanced. It would not fit on a GBA, I suppose. But to me, it almost reminds me of like what you're going to hear in like an arcade shmup or something when you walk up to it. Like a lot of that kind of stuff, and then obviously along with the other things that I mentioned. So because we have to mention it, story. There is story. There are words. I can't tell you that I listened to or read a whole lot of what was going on. I mean, at first you're like, okay, each character kind of has their own background, and you only start with one character, Roxy, and only one mech, which is the gunner. And you unlock as you go on up to, I think there's 10 total pilots and 3 total mechs, so lots of variety there. Each of them seemingly has their own like dialogue, their own personal incentive to do what they're doing in this game. And this could be a huge part of why I was taken out of it, but you get those little story bits as you finish runs, or even sometimes when you don't win a run, they'll give you a little bit of background on that character. And for whatever reason, maybe I have not seen enough of this game, because there's a lot to see in this game. But for whatever reason, every single time that I got those story bits, it's almost like they just stopped developing those parts, because all it gives you is a black screen and then like a text box at the bottom that reads the story. It's like, why? And maybe I need to get to a further point, which we'll talk about a little bit in gameplay, where, now things start to brighten up. But I have done dozens of runs at this point in this game, completed most of them, and it's always black. I mean, so it just doesn't excite me. Like, give me my character on screen, do something, make them move back and forth a little bit, but just black and text, I just wasn't into it. So I couldn't tell you really what was going on with any of the characters.
Thank God John brought a good narrative forward game, because between the three of us, people would think that we're like unwilling to read in a video game, that we're like angry whenever words show up on screen.
And usually I feel bad about that. Like, I know the dev put this in, I should read it. They clearly want me to. Although I will say there's not nearly as much text in this game as like Ruffy. But you know, it's very, very gameplay forward, but I just felt like there was no reason for me to really care. I mean, it seems like they're trying to save whatever world they're on or push themselves to do whatever, and there's like a sort of a God character that maybe is not God. I don't know, but I don't really care all that much. So I just kind of pushed through and got to my next run, usually.
I think I felt with this that, like, in Hades, when you go back to the House of Hades, you have a little chat and you feel good about your run. Like, you got a little bit of progress, you learned a little something, and it kind of punctuates the runs really well. In Starvaders, they're trying to do that. They're trying to give you a little bit of something after every run so you understand a little bit more, but it's just not that interesting, honestly. So I'm kind of glad it's there, even though I clicked through it. Because I was playing Monster Train 2 recently, and when you finish a run in that game, it just gives you the same screen you get when you lose with your stats, and you're like, what? Where are the fireworks? Where's the confetti? Where's my little story outcome? I don't know if I want to do this again and again and again. So even if it's bad, it has to be there. So you feel like you got a little something.
For sure. I should have asked. I know that the other two have not played it. John, you've played Starvaders?
Yeah. I think I've got like 20 hours in this game.
Holy crap. Okay, that's good, because you can help me then with the gameplay, because, this is a fairly complex. It's combining several different genres into one, and so I have been nervous. These are the types of games I get nervous about talking about on here, because it's always easy to bring a fairly simple, even if it's a good game, a fairly simple game to IndieQuest or to any podcast, because it's like, I know exactly what's going on, I can talk about it. But then you want to bring the complex or semi-complex game that you are going to like, but I personally get a little nervous about it because it's like, oh man, am I going to do this game justice?
I know what you mean, man. They're hard to talk about. It's like talking about card games. If you play Balatro over 20 minutes, you're going to get so much more. And if you try and explain it, it will take you probably 30. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's like, well, it's poker, but it's also not. Yeah, exactly. All right. So here we are. I will try to like break down the different parts of this game, and they go together quite nicely. This, like I said, this game is doing different things. So this is a run-based roguelite. At the beginning, before you even go and start doing any tactical grid stuff, you have multiple things you have to do. You have to select a mech, and like I said at the beginning, you only have one unlocked, and there are different criteria to unlock the other two. Each of them have different traits. So Gunner has this heat system. That as you use your cards, each of them have a certain amount of. I've been playing a lot of Magic the Gathering, as I mentioned. So to me, they're almost like mana, right? Like you have different amounts of these charges for a different mech. But for heat, so one card might cost you no heat, or it might cost you 1, or it might cost you 2, and you can use up to a certain limit of heat for each of these for the Gunner, right? So typically it's 3, but you can expand that. And then you can also overheat, meaning you go over your limit and burn your card. Lots of things that we can talk about in a little bit, I suppose. But those are each mech that you can choose from. You also select your character or your pilot. So while there are up to 10 pilots, not each pilot cannot pilot each mech, right? So each mech has a selection of either 3 to 4, from what I can see, pilots. So Gunner has its own 3 pilots, and then the next mech has 3, and then the last mech has 4, I believe, although I have not unlocked all of those characters yet. But each character has like a different passive, I suppose, that they can do. Roxy, the first character you get, so it's not very spoiler heavy, Roxy allows you to get a bonus when you overheat. Right, so typically overheating is not good. You should not overheat with Gunner because you will end up burning your cards, and then those burnt cards, when you draw them later, once you reshuffle everything back into your deck, you can't use them. But Roxy is almost like a get it in and get it done quickly type character, right? You want to like clear everything off the map before you even have to redraw all your cards. That's how Roxy plays.
Yeah, so I like this risk reward thing, right? You're like right at the edge. You're like, I've used all my AP. I could use this other card and maybe clear the screen, but maybe not. But if I do, it will burn. And like, I don't know if there's going to be another wave. So it's like a little bit gambling with your overheat a little bit.
Dude, there were several times, John, where I would like get a sick combo, right? I'd clear the whole screen. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I should be done, right? Nope. And then you got more wave coming on. It's like,
now skin of your teeth, and it gets really good, actually.
Yes, and that is one reason why this game is so good. Yes. After you do that, you selected your mech, you've selected your pilot, then you can select your difficulty. So, which is honestly a huge benefit to anyone out there who is interested in maybe trying a game like this, because it is a little. For people who aren't, there's plenty of people who aren't into tactical style games, and I totally understand that. But the difficulty settings makes me very much would recommend this game to more people than otherwise. I would compare this game strongly to Into the Breach, where they do similar things. They're both tactical roguelites, of course. No cards in Into the Breach. But Into the Breach is tough, is like really, really tough and hard to recommend to a lot of people. Where this game, it won't even let you choose a higher difficulty than easy at the beginning. It forces you into that path, which I kind of like. It's teaching you, it's training you how it wants you to play it. Then once you complete a run on that easiest difficulty, it will then unlock the next one and then unlock the last one. And then I'll tell you right now, I have not. There is a true final boss, John. I don't know if you've done that yet, but holy moly. That's tough. So
yeah, I think actually I'm interested to hear you talk about it because I played it at launch and it was easy and then impossible. So it's like you clear runs and then suddenly you're dead, and like it's tough. And I remember reading on Steam that they've been patching it out and they've been putting in more options and more like graduation between the difficulties, because that was my trajectory with it. I loved it and then I was done because it was just way too hard. So I'm kind of watching the patches to see if I should go in again and try and get those higher difficulties.
Yeah, and for context, I actually did a run right before we started recording just to like get those juices flowing, of course. And with a new character too, a pilot I hadn't used before. But I am 15 to 16 hours in. I have done everything I can do in the game except for that final. I've done it several times, but I have not completed the true final boss yet. And we'll get into some of that a little bit, into that friction. But prior to that, after you do all that selecting, you've chosen your difficulty, you then choose an encounter. So you kind of go into this overworld screen, I suppose, and you have to select, do I want to go fight these types of creatures? Do I have to go fight these types of creatures? And after you've played the game several times, you know what they do, right? Each enemy type has a very specific thing that they're good at and that you're going to have to counter as you fight them. But as with a lot of these games, when you select it, you also have a potential reward where you might get more cards, might get more specific cards like attack cards. You might be able to upgrade the cards you have, or like on rare occasions, you'll actually get artifacts, which are really good, like passives that you will just always have and almost shape your run, right? Artifacts to me are run shapers, where it's like, okay, I got this really good artifact, time to try to get cards that go with it and move in that direction.
Yeah, Slay the Spirish, I would say, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like build crafting.
Mm-hmm. Although I will say, I guess I'll say it right here, I felt like there were times where, and maybe I haven't gotten far enough or gotten to a point where this is allowed, or it gets more free, and John, let me know if I'm missing something here, but I felt like there were times where it's like, okay, I know which direction I want to go in, but I just never got the cards to like continue in that direction.
Yeah, I had favorite builds, and I'd get them like, 1 in 4 times you get to do your fave, and then other times you're just kind of trying to patch something together. But I did find that it forces you down paths that you maybe wouldn't go down, like Balatro, and you get weird jokers, and you're like, well, I guess this is what I'm working with this time,
Right.
Right. Yeah,
absolutely.
Normally I would, that would maybe be a negative for me. I will say a game that I played recently, that I just brought, Lost in Random, The Eternal Die, they kind of have the dial almost turned too far in the other direction, where you get like one card or artifact that like gives poison, and suddenly now every single boon you find is like almost exclusively talking about poison, where it like forces you down a track. So there is some merits to giving you like variety that maybe seems, at least initially, like it is not compatible with each other, but maybe down the line they'll find ways to merge those two builds into one or something.
Yeah, I had like a few runs where I'm like, I'm nowhere right now. I've like got a little bit of burn, I've got a little bit of fast movement, and I'm kind of, this run is like, this is not going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've gotten to the point now where if I'm not chasing like either an achievement that I know is coming, or I'm not trying to unlock another character, you can start to feel, especially there are 3 acts, right? So you start with Act 1, you have to beat a boss at the end of Act 1, and then 2, and then 3. And if I'm starting to feel like halfway through Act 2, like it's just puttering, and I'm like, well, to be completely honest, it's not that hard to beat the Act 3 boss and win the run. But now my hunt is forever to try to beat that final boss, and I know how tough that is. So it's like if I'm not feeling it come together, it might just be time to abandon and go do a different run. So okay, I suppose that brings us very neatly to the actual tactical combat in this game. So, like I said, it's an 8x5 grid. Your mech will always start in the bottom 3 rows. I will say there's a special case for the third mech, but that's a little spoilery. You're not even going to unlock that third mech for a while. So, bottom 3 rows. Enemies will always start in the top portion of the grid, and the whole goal is to obviously destroy all enemies off the map. But if they make their way all the way down to the bottom 3 rows where you start in, they start to channel what the game calls doom. You have like a doom meter that starts at 5, and depending on the enemy, bigger enemies will channel 2 doom, smaller enemies will channel 1, bosses will often channel 4 or 3, 3 usually, but on harder difficulties can channel more than 3. And once they get to that bottom section, you basically prioritize getting rid of them as quickly as possible so that your doom meter doesn't go up. The thing that I actually very much enjoy about this game, and I cannot honestly think of a game that's done something like this, It's actually, I enjoy it, but I also hate it. And John will probably attest to this as well. You actually don't have a health bar at all. When you get hit in this game, you're good. Like nothing really happens to you other than you get a junk card, basically, put into your discard pile. Which if you're playing Roxy or somebody who's very, very fast, then you might not even care. Like, give me all the junk. I'm never even going to draw all my cards back. I'm going to clear this board. But especially in later acts and towards the end of the game, when you can't clear the board quickly, you get all that stuff back into your draw pile, and you could draw 3 or 4 junk and a burnt card, and you're just screwed.
Yeah, you can kind of try and build towards that a little bit, right? You can do like fast reshuffles if you're playing a style that's going to give you hands full of junk. I think there are artifacts and skills that can make you discard junk and redraw cards. But if you're not there, then it's rough.
I got an artifact recently that turns all my junk into butter, which makes them actually turn into move cards, free move cards, 1 to 2. But still, if you usually your hand size is only so much, right? Unless you have a bunch of artifacts that allow you with greater hand size and whatever. So if you end up with a 5-card hand and 3 of them are move 1 to 2 spaces and you've got 1 attack card, it's great that you can move and get there, but you're kind of still, I mean, it's good they do something, right? But you're kind of still painted into a corner a little bit if you weren't careful about not accruing junk early on. So and kind of to John's point that he just made, the run variety in this game is pretty insane. I personally very much like getting cards that allow me to push units, because I just think it's a very fun style to play. So typically, like the game is going to teach you that, oh, you're going to move. You're going to use a move card. You're going to go next to an enemy unit, an invader, as they call them, and you're going to use an attack card. And that's how you're going to play this game until you don't. And that's what I love about it, because as soon as it introduces the next mech, you're like, oh my gosh, this game plays completely differently. With the second mech really opened it up for me.
It's like the first one was like the trainee mech, right, where you're just at pot shots and move, and the second one, different style. So much fun. The map is different, the gameplay is different, like you just perceive it all differently.
Yeah. So to explain that in a little bit more detail without spoiling as much as I can, Gunner is the first mech, and Gunner, as is in the name, is very much ammo based. You shoot, a lot of your cards shoot straight forward. You can use bombs. It's kind of tactically in that way. Stinger is like melee, which at first, the very first run I ever did with Stinger, I was like, I hate this character.
Relearn the whole thing.
You have to relearn how to play the game. But then 2 runs later, I'm like, I'm never using Gunner again. Stinger is my dude. I love this. I love the way this game plays with Stinger. And a lot of Stinger's potential is with pushing, right? So there are walls and there are enemies next to each other. And this is kind of where Into the Breach comes in. In Into the Breach, the whole point is you stare at the screen and try to figure out the perfect way to solve this little tactical puzzle to get all the enemies to either attack each other or you clear them all out at once. This does it at a little bit less of a tactical side. Like, it's not as advanced, I don't think, as Into the Breach, at least personally. But I enjoyed finding those combinations where all of a sudden I've got a few different things on the map that allow me to push other cards. I've got what is called a tornado card in my hand that pushes just everything in random directions, and you just clear the whole map. And it is one of the most satisfying experiences I've ever had playing a tactical game. When you just get the right combination and everything dies, it feels amazing. So
yeah. I played that character slightly differently. I was doing a build where you kind of give yourself another turn again and again and again. And I was basically, like in a samurai movie where there's like one guy and then 5 guys and they all stand and stare at each other. And then the samurai is just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they all just fall down. And like suddenly I was doing that and being like, that was fun.
Yes, it feels so good, and oftentimes you'll get a card that you've never used before, and you're like, this doesn't really make any sense. Like, I don't feel like this does anything until you got to use the cards that are in your hand, right? And that's what makes you discover the potential that is in this game, because a card that seems almost useless once you have a different artifact or once you use it with a different card, it's like, oh, Now I get it. Now I am enjoying what the game is trying to get me to do, right? So, before we wrap up, I suppose, like we've talked a lot about, and hopefully, I'll ask you guys if you have any questions here in a minute, because you kind of jump around. There's just a lot to do in this game. Each of your cards can also have secondary effects by upgrading, and that's also like a massive thing that you can start doing. They can have card draw. You can have an attack that allows you to move right beforehand. So rather than burn 2 cards, you can move a couple spaces to get to where you need, and then it attacks. All of a sudden, you're only using 1 energy instead of the multiple that you would have.
That was
otherwise.
the clutch for the samurai build.
Yes.
Move and strike, move and strike, move and strike.
Yep. And there are several ways to make your movement cards free, for example. So with Stinger, like John's saying, all of a sudden you're just zipping all over the screen, almost like you're playing an action game. Like it's wild. It's just very, very unique and fun for this type of game. I guess to wrap up a little bit here, there are bosses. Bosses are very fun too. They're almost like lots of the bosses are almost like a puzzle in a way, because they each interact. You interact with them in a very different way. A boss, the Act 2 boss that I think you start with, that everybody's going to see within like the first probably half an hour to an hour as they play, is this huge blob that you have to constantly take chunks off of. So you hit it, more blobs come out, then more blobs come out, and then you have to hit those blobs, and then more blobs come out of them. So all of a sudden, if you were being extremely risky with Roxy, for example, and like blowing that blob up, now your screen is completely filled with blobs. You run out of energy, and now they all move down a step, because that's what happens in between every turn, and you might have 2 or 3 blobs channeling doom that you have to deal with. So it's that figuring out how they work, figuring out the right way to kind of manufacture and turn the tides against each of them. One of the Act 3 bosses is, I'll just say it, I won't spoil it, but the Grand Master boss, I love that boss. Just the way it makes you think.
They're really good, man. I enjoyed all of them.
Yes.
They're really different, and that's when you find out if you have a build or not, basically. Right?
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like, am I going to be able to get through this? Yes. There's also a shop, so you get currency as you play. The whole point, really, of this game is to combo as much as possible, which is where characters like the starting character Roxy are really good. If you can get a huge combo going, then you're going to get a bunch of currency and a bunch more money to spend at shop, get more cards, or potentially remove cards, get other artifacts. I mean, it's a roguelite, so we've all done this before. But more so than any other card-based game, roguelite specifically, that I've played, this game will punish you if you have a card, in my opinion, a card in your deck that is not really useful in your run. Which is nice that you're able to remove them, because sometimes you're going to get 2 or 3 pieces of junk, and you're going to get that card that doesn't go with what you're trying to do, and all of a sudden you're kind of shit out of luck. Really, you got to figure it out. The nice thing is, I nearly mentioned it earlier, there's like a refresh button, and you can get up to 3 of those. So you can, if you get a bad hand, you can refresh. You can basically refresh almost everything in this game. You can refresh your encounters, you can refresh your shop, you can refresh your starting cards that you get in packs, and you can refresh your actual hand in battles. Like, so it's nice, like it gives you that out, but you only have 3 of them, and then you use them. You can find ways to refresh them, but if you use them all too quickly, then you're going to kind of be out of luck when it comes to future encounters. So any questions? And also, John, if you have any other things to say that I may have missed, because there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, there is a lot going on with it. I'm quite curious. I mean, Blink, you're an Into the Breach guy, right?
I've never played it. That's why I was keying in on the Game Boy Advance stuff, because I did grow up with Advance Wars and Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy Tactics and stuff like that, which seems like the required skill set here.
Yeah, 100%. I think Advance Wars fans will enjoy this a lot. Like Advance Wars meets Space Invaders.
Yeah.
With this like well of stuff coming down towards you. It's got a lot of love for arcade games, like Breakout. Like if you do a Ricochet build, your bullets are just bouncing around the walls and like trying to get them in behind people and stuff. It's definitely like a bit of a love letter in that sense to Into the Breach, the Mega Man battle game, and like a lot of arcade classics. I think you will dig it.
Awesome, man. I know you haven't placed it yet, Seth, but between this and Blueprints, 2025, it's a good year for, games on a 5-column grid.
Seriously.
And Ball X Pit is coming as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else to add, I'll put it on the quest log. I think it's probably pretty obvious, but I am also interested to hear what John thinks of my opinion here. This is a very easy main quest for me, and is honestly very much in the contention for GOTY for me personally. I mean, I love tactical games, but I feel like I don't bring enough to IndieQuest because they're always a bit of a commitment, right? Like this game, you're not really going to get. I mean, you're gonna win some runs, of course, but you're gonna have to spend 10+ hours in this game to really get out of it what it wants you to get. And that's true of a lot of tactical games. But man, I am so happy I played this game. This is an absolutely incredible game. And every night for the past 2 weeks, I've been like, all right, time to do a run of Starvaders. It's just super, super good. So you're gonna finish a run in about an hour or two, by the way. Like you're gonna finish that easy in an hour or two and you're gonna feel good. But like John said, you finish the easy run and then you get the medium run. You finish that relatively easy. Then you get the hard run. You think, okay, this is where the stakes are really going to go up. And they do. Like enemies get tougher. But honestly, I never felt like the third difficulty was all that hard until it's like, okay, but also, as is the case with lots of games, we've got this final boss. And holy moly, I don't know when I'm going to beat that final boss because I've gotten there and there's 3 phases. Like there's just, not to spoil too much about it, but holy moly, it's tough. It is really, really tough. It really challenges everything that you've learned. And you're going to find out really quickly if your deck is not suited for it because like we were mentioning before, your discard pile is everything, right? So if you get a bunch of crap in your discard pile that you don't want, a 3-phase boss fight means that all that crap keeps coming right back out all the time. So I think that's where I'll warn people if they are super into that. I'm going to seek out, I'm going to see everything this game has to offer. That difficulty ramps up very quickly. So
it does. That's my one critique of it, really. I was like surfing the wave and having such a good time with that game until like a late stage, and then I was like, I don't even know if everything that I've learned works on this. Like, so I'm not sure what to do with that. But I think the devs are aware of that and they've had the feedback. So they've been patching it. So I am quite curious to go back to it and see if they've just, the curve seemed to be like gentle and then vertical.
Yes.
So I'm curious if they can ameliorate that a little bit and make it a bit more, I mean, not an easy ride, but more gradual, like you're building up to that finale.
I would argue that easy is correct, but they should have ramped up harder throughout the next 2.
Yeah, bit of tuning, isn't it? That's the only thing with the game, I would say. Just a bit of tuning on how hard it gets and that kind of thing.
John, would you agree with the main quest placement?
I mean, I played a lot of it. It's a borderline case for me, honestly. It went into my, like, I've got a Games of the Year document with, like, the yeses and then probably the lower reaches, and I put it into that lower reaches list. Like, it's one that I'll assess at the end of the year kind of thing. But I had a really good time with it. I was coming off Clair Obscur, and I think when you're coming off a game like that, you need something like this. Something to just sit and tinker with and potter with. No big story elements, just, like, fun, technical little game. I mean, it really hit the spot in that moment for sure.
Awesome.
Cool.
That's Starvaders.
Sweet.
All right, we had 4 games brought to the quest log today. We had Haste, and I was looking at this. It was Haste Broken Worlds on the title screen, but I think they took off the colon for like the main name. Now it's just Haste as a main quest. And then they have Immortality as a main quest, Ruffy and the Riverside as a main side quest, and then we had Starvaders as a main quest today. I think that's a pretty good, like 3 video games, and then 1 really deep narrative story-based game here, right?
I guess you got what you ordered. Having me on.
Yeah, that's all good.
Exactly.
I love the variety though. That's really great. All right, we did get a couple of community comments and emails. Who wants to read this email from Scotch and Hobbies here?
I'll take it. Scotch and Hobbies, friend of the show, says Sup, y'all? Last episode, you guys talked about some indie games that have either already come out this year or that are in your personal contention for Game of the Year, and also games that are set to come out this year that you're excited for. And I've got some recommendations for both categories, which we always appreciate. Thank you, Scotch. It says, first, games already released that should probably be played by one of the hosts or that I think are awesome. First up, a game about digging a hole. It says the title says exactly what this game is. I'll say I brought Dig Dig Dino on the play date. Is that not just a game about digging a hole by
That
another
no one
name?
anywhere will ever play unless they own that system.
Oh, come on. There's at least 3 Playdate perverts out there. Desktop Survivors 98, a Bullet Heaven game styled after Windows 98. I saw that. That game looks quite fun. That's the game.
I picked that
cool.
one up. It's cheap, so.
Yep, I've got it too.
Get Tilted, a rage precision platformer about a jumping flower pot. Now, I watched Scotch stream this game. This game actually looks great. If you're like a Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy fan, this game is very much up your alley. It's like, you're controlling a flower pot 400 feet above a pit trying to jump onto like a single 2x4 suspended in the air. And the controls, it's got kind of a Jump King thing where you charge your jump up with no real visual indication, just by feel, and then when you release, based on how long you held the button, you lurch forward that amount, so you start to like sort of intuit how you should jump. I think by now people know if they're in or out for that type of game. Shotgun Cop Man, Josh already played this. Hey, we already covered that one. All right, Scotch. Do you not listen to every single episode, Scotch and Hobbies? It says, now games coming out later this year you should keep eyes on. Look Mum No Computer, which is a twin-stick shooter set inside computers. I've not heard of this one. Have any of you?
Nope.
I'm actually looking at this list. I've heard of none of these. Double Whammy, a 3D action platformer about guitars that also has Guitar Hero rhythm game elements.
Interesting.
I will say I'm a huge rhythm game fan. I'm generally very skeptical of incorporating rhythm elements into non-rhythm games, but prove me wrong, Double Whammy. Baki Hanma Blood Arena, a Punch-Out clone set in the anime world of Baki. I think that this had a Next Fest demo that people were talking about. Punch-Out is a series that I feel like hasn't been copied enough. I feel like there's still water in that well that you can pull out, so that's cool to see. And Unbeatable, a rhythm game with a strong influence from Persona 5 in its style and storytelling. Again, I sound so negative, but why are you storytelling in my rhythm game? What are you doing? There's other avenues to do that. Says, all right, that's it. Video games are good, even when they're kind of bad. My man, Scotch. Says, keep being awesome. Respect. Scotch, thank you for the recommendations. The ones that are already on my radar, I will certainly prioritize, and the ones that are not, I will look into them. So thanks for the heads up.
Can I throw, I don't know if any of you guys have played it, but I was just glancing at my list, and one that I feel like no one's talked about enough was Dawnfolk. It's a little village builder strategy game. You're like putting tiles together to make things happen, resources, like a little puzzle that you have to solve. Got a little story in there too. Really cool little game that I think would, if people were asking for go your homework, I'd say give that one a little spin.
Yeah, I'll wishlist that.
Very satisfying looking game. Just clean
yeah,
little cute little
good.
tiles. I like this.
I like it too. It reminds you a little bit of Carto.
Yeah, a little bit.
Totally.
All right, I'll read this Spotify comment real quick from Paleona. They say, Kabuto Park looks so cute. I'm definitely going to try out the demo. Also, the Blueprints discussion here makes me think of how I feel about Outer Wilds. It's so widely loved, but did not click for me, and then a little sweat smiley emoji. And then they say, my most anticipated game for this year is Primal Planet. It's a Metroidvania with really great art and music. The demo is fantastic. Highly recommend it. Which I remember seeing Primal Planet in like a, I don't know, Day of the Devs. One of the 5,000 showcases we get a year now. And that art style will stick in your head. It's like really striking. So definitely one on my radar too. I just forgot about it because there's just so many games,
Yeah, man. I was listening to the Blueprints episode yesterday, and I was like, are we going to crack open that conversation when I'm here? I feel like I want to give Josh some emotional support here. And say,
Feel
free.
There we go.
There we go.
We can
Finally.
have 2 incorrect opinions on the same show.
Do not be gaslit by the critical response to this game. Like, it's okay to not like it. I got thoughts on this game.
Yeah, Thank you. I'm heard. I feel seen. I feel heard today.
Now I'm wondering if
Blueprints has
John
been
is
a
going to
tough
be
one,
willing
man.
to invite me back for a Game of the Year discussion. It's going to be blows.
No, I mean,
Blows this
yeah. If you've,
season.
I did a Twitter poll the other day. Like Blueprints people, be real. Did you finish it without looking up stuff? What do you think the percentages were?
Honestly, I would guess it's like 85% looked stuff up, 15% didn't.
Yeah, it was like 9 out of 10 people had to look stuff up. Yeah, I tried with that game too, and got to the point where you kind of see the map and you're like, okay, I know what this map means now, and I can see the next 10 hours of my life carrying out this task. And you know what? I'm not gonna.
Thank you.
I am gonna go back out that door to this mansion and walk home. See you later.
Oh man, I just want to give you a big hug right now. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I respect the game. It's a lovely looking game, but I don't know, man. Understanding the range of what you have to do, the scope of what you have to do, for me, didn't make it fun. I was like, that's gonna be a long walk to get there. I ended up just watching it on YouTube. I was like, you know what? I want to see how it ends. I'll just watch it. Watched it, saw some of the late game puzzle solutions, and was like, this was the right decision.
Yeah, I
would
watched
not have gotten there.
the Summer Games Done Quick little race they did. I watched that. That was fascinating. Did you watch that, Steve? I
watched the
Blueprints
first
race?
20 minutes of it. I loved it, and then it was my bedtime, and I was like, I'll stop now and I'll watch the rest of it another time.
Yeah.
But I'm a little jealous of people that love the game, man. I'm a little jealous. I wanna have the experience that other people had.
Me too. That's why I was like frustrated with, I'm the positive. I like to be the positive guy. I want to be like, all right, let's get in here. Let's find the nugget of things that everybody loves. And I'm like, okay, I could see where everybody's coming from. It's just not clicking with me. And I gave it a try, and then literally my partner walking by going, you look pissed off when you're playing this game. Maybe you should play something else, like do something else with your time, So yeah, it is what it is.
I won't rebut anything. I won't offer my opinion. I'll give you the airspace to speak to the Blueprints oppressed here. But I have more thoughts that we'll get into, maybe another time, maybe in a late season episode here. As someone who had Animal Well at number 1 for their Game of the Year, I certainly enjoyed Blueprints, and I think there's a lot to love. But I will say, back to Paleona, how you feel about Outer Wilds, that is exactly why I don't, even though it is my favorite game of all time, it is why I don't really recommend that game to anyone almost ever, unless I know that they're like surefire in the bag for it, because it's true that some of these games that are like so well lauded and respected, and people are so passionate about, they form like entire YouTube channels just to make video essays about that one game. It can feel a little like rough when it doesn't click with you. And interestingly, I feel like both Blueprints and Outer Wilds have friction that you push through, and then like once you do, you like get fully wrapped up and absorbed by what the game is trying to do. Not that you don't have to push through that friction. If it stops you, it stops you. But a lot of the experience I have talking to people about both these games is them at first being like, I don't like driving that ship, or I don't know if the roguelike part of Blueprints is really additive. And then if they do carry on because they appreciate the other parts so much, 12 hours later they come back and are like, oh, this is my favorite game that I've ever played in my life. This is amazing. So
you've got a high success rate of getting into that place with these games. I've got a low success rate, I think. Like Tunic was a no for me, famously. There's like people in the Gaming in the Wild Discord use the fox emoji just to like drop on a take when someone doesn't like a popular game. It's become like code for that. Fox emoji means, oh, it's another one, popular game. But like Out of Wilds is in my pantheon for sure. I got there with that one. Something about the feeling of the exploration, space exploration pushed me into the mystery. And there's so many paths that you can take. It's very free. You have freedom within the structure. Sometimes don't take to them. Like your games of mystery vibe, where you love the puzzle, you love to work your way in patiently and get there. I think my patience is a bit shorter than yours on those kind of games. But no one would say that any of those are bad games, obviously. They're all like beautifully crafted games. It's just a mileage may vary situation, isn't it?
Totally. And Paleo, and I'm not trying to convince you to play something you're not into, but I will say it helps a lot for a lot of these types of games, Outer Wilds, Blueprints, Tunic, all of them, that my wife is also really into them, and I play pretty much all of them with her at my side. Having a second set of eyes and like a second brain just to like remember stuff, point you back in the right direction, catch stuff that you didn't because you were like kind of railroaded on one idea at the time, helps a lot in like not hitting walls in those types of games. So something to consider.
Yeah.
Okay, let's close the can of worms. We did it.
All right.
We did it. Okay. I was going to say for Outer Wilds, it did take me probably like 10 tries before I was like, okay, I see what this is doing. And then I'm like, then I'm in, and it's like 40 hours later, I'm like, wow, that was amazing, you know? So it just takes a little bit of time sometimes, I guess, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And if those games aren't for you, go play Sayonara Wild Hearts, which is the exact opposite type of game, and you're guaranteed to like.
Awesome. Well, I think that's going to do us for the show today. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening. You can find the show at IndieQuestPod on Blue Sky, or send us emails, IndieQuestPod@gmail.com. If you leave us comments on Spotify, we'll read them. If you send us a text message, that's in the description, we'll read them. As long as they're not rude, obviously. You know, send us nice things. All right. We'll throw it to John. Plug all the things. What do you do on the internet?
Yeah, for people who are still listening at the 2-hour mark here, you may be the kind of person that would like Gaming in the Wild as well. You can go to gaminginthewild.com and find all the links. It's a podcast. There is a YouTube channel. I'm on all the social media. Come find me and check it out.
Awesome. Steve, where can they find you on the internet?
Best place to find me is Gaming in the Wild on YouTube, or search Gaming in the Wild wherever your podcasts are found. No, John undersells himself, all right? His show is phenomenal. You should really go give it a listen.
I was like super happy to have you on, John, because I'm a fan of yours. I listen to all your stuff. You know, I lurk in the Discord. I occasionally will post, but I mostly just read everything because everybody has, like, if you want some thoughtful discussion on games, that's like the place to go. Like, just to be honest, like that's my favorite place to read stuff about video games is your Discord. So.
In my brain, there's a gauge of like on the far left is Polykill, somewhere in the middle is IndieQuest, and on the far right is Gaming in the Wild, and everyone falls along that gauge. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't like being told I'm on the far right of anything, man.
Turn it around.
All right, on the far south and the far north.
Yeah,
There we go. Thank you, though. That's very kind of you both. I mean, I'm a big fan of IndieQuest. I've been listening pretty much since the start, so really fun to be on it. Thanks again for having me. It's been really fun.
Right, awesome.
It's been great.
Oh yeah, Steve, you were gonna plug yourself if you want
It's
to.
Blinkoom on all the places. If by episode 115 you still haven't met me, we'll talk more next episode. It's okay. Seth, what about you?
You can find me at Captain Drachma on Blue Sky, and of course in the Polymedia Discord, best place on the internet. And if you want to hop into that Discord, head on over to Patreon, search up Polymedia, and jump into that tier that gets you in the Discord. Josh, where can they find you?
You can find me at Josh Leslie on Blue Sky, and I started a new podcast. I just want to shout it out real quick. It's a movie podcast called The Monthly Mishap with my friends Scotch and Hobbies, Chris, and we're going to talk about movies that we like and what we're watching, and recommend movies to each other, and then we're going to come back and kind of review the movies we recommend each other each month. So some little side hobby. It's give it a listen, give it a try if you like it. Awesome. Thank you very much for that. But anyway, thanks for listening to the show. You can find more shows like this at polymedianetwork.com. Go over there and you're going to find a podcast that tickles your fancy. Just go check it out. You know what? I'm going to throw it to John. Why don't you close out the show today with some nice parting words for the folks?
Keep on questing, indie people.
Perfect. I love it.